Let's get into it. Soul Not For Sale podcast. Coach Colin here with Hank Unfiltered. I'm sure at least 244 of you know this gentleman. You've seen him. I know thousands of you have seen him on here. A bunch of you have already clicked subscribe on his channel, which I have on the screen right now. My boy is 4 videos deep. He's getting into it, ladies and gentlemen. So definitely check out these videos. They are very in-depth. And he's here with us again. Weekly, we're doing this kind of thing. I don't know what we'll call it. You know, news wrap up, weekly news story, Soul Not For Sale news. Give me some suggestions in the comment section. You guys know who I am, Coach Colin. What we're going to be covering today, right before I throw it to Hank here. Visas and Indians. What's this visa called again, Hank?
The H1B.
Yeah, this is Ignited X. X is on fire. Bad segue. We're also going to be talking about the woman who was actually lit on fire in a New York subway. We're going to be touching on that case. Crazy case. Not as crazy as the governor of New York and Eric Adams, the mayor of New York City, and their takes on the whole thing. Then we're going to touch on Matt Gaetz because that's looking pretty crazy. And then we're going to touch briefly on the Panama Canal because Donald J. Trump is not playing around. He doesn't just want to make America great again. He wants to make America huge again. He wants the Panama Canal. He wants Canada. He wants Governor Trudeau. He wants Greenland. Trump is not playing around at all. So we're going to be talking about all that. How you doing, man?
I'm ready to get into it. This is an exciting topic over here. Lots of exciting topics, actually. So let's have some fun here today.
And as you guys can see, you just type in Hank Unfiltered. He will pop up. Hit that subscribe button on his channel. Please do. He's trying to get monetized, folks. He's trying to get to 1,000. I remember back in the day when I was trying to get 1,000. Oh, it was so hard. It was so hard. I didn't have Coach Colin, Hank. I didn't have a Coach Colin.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're censoring me too as well because they're taking my views and they're not showing them.
They're like they're like he's associated with Coach Colin. Shut it down. Shut it down.
Well, the math isn't mathing, so I'm pretty sure they're doing something funny. I'm not surprised. I mean, I'm bringing the truth to the people, and usually Google doesn't like that. So,
just keep pushing. People have told me so many times in the comment section, they're like, they're doing something. They're doing this to you. They're doing that to you. And all I ever say is we just keep pushing forward. That's all you can do. Come undeniable. Keep pushing forward. They can't do it forever. That's it. That's all you can do.
This is true.
So we'll keep helping you out, man. Let's get into this. So this is Vivek's first tweet. This is the tweet I'm pretty sure that ignited everything with this big debate that's going on. Vivek was talking about the top tech companies hire foreign-born and first-generation engineers over Native Americans and, quote unquote, Native Americans isn't because of the innate American IQ deficit, lazy and wrong explanation. A key part of it comes down to the C word, culture. Tough questions demand tough answers. And if we're really serious about fixing the problem, we have to confront the truth. Our American culture. Okay. Damn, I went up too far. Our American culture. Where are we at? This is a long one. Jesus. Our American culture breeds mediocrity over excellence for way too long, at least since the 90s or likely longer. That doesn't start in college. It starts young. Right away, I'm already saying he's like, you could say he's right, but also I have to say that he's wrong. Like he's kind of blanketing it like just everybody. Just all of America has fallen victim to this. Also forgetting that he himself is American, born on American soil. So it's just very interesting, this argument that he's trying to make. Let me go on here. A culture that celebrates the prom queen over the math Olympian champ or the jock over the valedictorian will not produce the best engineers. A culture that values Boy Meets World or Zack and Slater over Screech and Saved by the Bell or Stefan over Steve Urkel in Family Matters will not produce the best engineers. Fact, I know multiple sets of immigrant parents in the 90s who actively limited how much their kids could watch those TV shows precisely because they promoted mediocrity, and their kids went on to become wildly successful STEM graduates. More movies like Whiplash, fewer reruns of Friends, more math tutoring, fewer sleepovers, more weekend science competitions, fewer Saturday morning cartoons, more books, less TV, more creating, less chilling, more extracurriculars, less hanging out at the mall. Most Facebook was created because Mark Zuckerberg wanted to just chill and hang out with girls. Just I'm just putting it out there, just really quick, you know. Most normal American parents look skeptically at those kind of parents, quote unquote. More normal American kids view such those kind of kids with scorn. If you grow up aspiring to normalcy, and normalcy is exactly what you'll achieve. Now, close your eyes and visualize which families you knew in the 90s or even now who raised their kids according to one model versus the other. Be brutally honest. Normalcy doesn't cut it in a hyper competitive global market for technical talent. And if we pretend it does, we'll have our asses handed to us by China. This is our Sputnik moment. We've awakened from the slumber before and after. I think we got the gist of it here. You know,
We
it's
did,
just
Coach. We did. We got the deal.
quite long tweet here, but he's basically saying he wants to hire more people from India. This is what everybody's hyper focused on. They're focused on the Indian engineers, but it's also just foreign engineers in general. What do you think about all this? This whole argument that's going on?
Well, for one, he doesn't seem to like American culture very much. I don't know why. I thought American culture was great. What do you think, Coach?
Yeah, it's that's an interesting. It seems we just went through this whole thing of make America great again. He was right on board with Trump. He was really hardcore MAGA. He is really hardcore MAGA. I won't take that away from him.
Hmm.
You know, he did so much campaigning for Trump. You know, he ran a great campaign himself. He talked about America being first. He really concentrated on that. People are viewing this as a bit of a flip flop, or just an odd take, because like you said, you could take this as someone who is looking down on American culture, but also looking down on Americans, you know, saying that the reason that we have to bring in people from another place is because of the way that you all grew up. Because who is he talking to in this? He's not talking to 10-year-olds. He's talking to people who are within our age group, the people who are coming out of university, all the way up to people who are 45 years old. He's talking to that whole, you know, I could say 2 generations in there. He's talking to us, saying that we're not good enough because of what we grew up doing. I just see this as a bit of a cop out, and you know, there's gonna be times I put on my tinfoil Speedo because I feel like this was maybe the Trojan horse that so many people, including yourself, didn't trust about Vivek when he first hit the scene.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's sort of break this down for a second, okay? The 90s were great, okay? Boy Meets World was great. Saved by the Bell was great. I don't know who watched Steve Urkel, but I mean, people like that too. You know, Family Matters
Yeah.
was a big show. This was very big. You have to think about American culture itself. There's a reason why America is so influential throughout the world. And it's because American culture has been exported throughout the world.
Mm-hmm.
And it's done so with shows like Boy Meets World, Saved by the Bell, Family Matters, and so much more.
Mm-hmm.
And to just sit here and ridicule and put down all these great influences that have been on the American people for the last 30, 40, 50 years or whatnot, I think it's kind of missing the ball over here. I do have to say, I like Vivek, and I don't want to, I'm not sitting here and trying to say that, you know, you shouldn't listen to him. I think he has a lot of good things to say. And I think that when it comes to his takeover here, it's just missing the point here. You know, he says in the tweet, you know, America okay, here, let's read the beginning here. The reason top tech companies often hire foreign born and first generation engineers over Native Americans isn't because of an innate American IQ deficit, but he's referring it's actually a cultural thing. So if the idea behind it is saying, well, let's turn off the TVs and let's push forward in education, then you know what? I'm here for that. Let's do that. Let's talk about educational reforms that puts America's education system #1 in the world and try to, take that cultural aspect and say, you know what? We can celebrate the what did he call it? The prom queens or
Yeah.
whatever they are. We can celebrate them, but also at the same time celebrate the Steve Urkels of the world and the Screeches. And I think that that's a better way of doing it. Let's stop trying to think about how to bring more people in. Let's focus on trying to take a homegrown approach of how to make our people smarter, more intelligent, more capable, and that's something I think that can be done with basic reforms. What do you think, Coach?
Yeah. Here's the thing. Yes, that needs to happen as well. But let's just go to who he's actually confronting now, the people who aren't good enough now. To say that it's just throughout America, there's genius level people who are in America right now who could be engineers. You could give them the incentive. The thing is that they're Americans and that they understand that I'm supposed to be getting paid a certain wage. If I work for Tesla, if I work for X, or if I work for whatever Vivek might have going on in the future, I want a little higher than the regular salary. That's why I think I should be. I'm valuing myself a little more. I know how good I am. I know how smart I am. I know what I've done in school, how sought after I am. You're going to have to pay me a little more. Now let's just cut the brass tacks. When you bring in these other people, you're not having that conversation with them. They're most of them are going to be very okay with bare bones. You look at them, you say, "Listen, it's your first year here. We're gonna get you your visa and everything. We're gonna get you a green card. Our company's gonna expedite that process. So you know what? Maybe first year you do 90K. You do it for 90K. I know, other guys talk about getting 180,000, but you can do it for 90K. We'll make sure you get your green card and everything. We'll handle that, lawyers and whatnot. So you can just take that hit for us." A lot of people from India would be willing to do that. And I think that's, at the end of the day, like, I'm not going to say that's what Vivek's trying to do, but that's what a lot of companies are going to do if they're just bringing in thousands of people from, and it's not just India. People focus on India because it's Vivek saying it, but from anywhere that's third world, you know?
Well, I think people are focusing on India because when they talk about engineers, a lot of IT workers are being exported over to India. So
Yes.
I'm not so sure it's more based off of the fact that his ethnicity, more to
Well,
do with just what because the norm has been, and it's not just in America; it's happening in Canada and other Western countries as well. It's all going to India, right?
yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, you're 100% right there. And then I guess also just because I've been watching this on X, I don't have there's just so much to post, but a lot of people have been photoshopping photos of Vivek working at 7-Eleven and jobs like that. So they've been focusing in on him being Indian and in the making fun of him type of way, a lot of it. But yes, exactly what you just said is 100% correct as well. It
Well,
is.
to that 7-Eleven image that you're referring to, it also could be possibly the fact that we're talking about we want the best engineers using the H-1B visa, but what's coming over with that visa are people who are working at 7-Eleven as well. So I mean, maybe it has something to do with that too as well.
That's yeah, as we talk about this more, we're going to start touching on that and see what the actual jobs are, because Elon Musk and Vivek have been making it seem like it's all engineers and these high level people, but in reality, what's getting through, or who's getting through more respectfully, is people who are working in 7-Eleven and working these low level jobs. And we know who that's impacting the most. It's not impacting the people who are the one percenters, because, a one percenter is someone who's making more than like $400,000. So it's not those people who are being affected as much. It's the working class people that are getting affected by this. So even when he talks about tech companies and everything, and he's making this case for a very, very small percentage of what's actually coming over. And he's not, I guess I could say he's out of touch with who it's actually hitting the hardest when this kind of stuff happens.
But you know, the other problem I have with this tweet here is he's really going after the jocks. You know, he's going after people
Yeah.
who are into sports. You know, so many of these people, they wind up in many service industries, and they may even be your servicemen in uniform going overseas to protect you. You know, it's not
Mhm.
usually that scrawny, weak guy who's the engineer that's going to protect you and fight overseas. It's usually that jock that's going overseas to fight and protect American way of life. So I kind of have an issue with that, just because if we didn't have this idea of, you know, breeding alpha males and people, you know, would we have the amazing American men and women overseas who are literally unmatched when it comes
Units.
to fighting these
They are
crazy wars?
units. They
They
are
are units.
units. I mean, I'm a big, you already know, I'm a big guy. You know, we've been working out for years and everything. You know, I'm like, I'm just getting down to like 280 right now. You know, like I'm a big guy, but these guys
Yeah.
are a different type of big guy, and they're doing ruck runs with 100-pound sacks on, and it's crazy what these guys can do. And you're right about that. This whole thing seems like, I don't know how it got into this huge feud on X. I don't know how it turned into all this, but it almost seems like in this tweet, Vivek is having I want to liken it to like a Bud Light moment, because it's tarnishing his brand a little bit. You know, the same people that he's kind of talking down on here are the same people that were really pushing for him, willing to vote for him, you know, voted for Trump. Like you're kind of, you know, you're getting down on those people quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, look, he could have just come out and said, "Listen, we got to bring in the top engineers from throughout the world," you know, and that would have been it. I mean, he could have just said a tweet like that. But instead, he decided to, you know, take a dump all over American culture, and I'm not for that. I think that we have to think what these H-1B visas are doing to the American people. And there's some good, but there's also a lot of bad, because corporate greed does tend to, you know, run amok and take over. And, you know, I mean, there's a reason why the swamp is there. It has a life of its own. You know, 7-Eleven cashiers are some of these people who are being given these visa holders, but it could be something like a dog trainer, a baker, a massage therapist, and so much more, like secretaries, like low level jobs that American people should be able to take for themselves. And I don't really think that these are the 1% engineers that Vivek is speaking of. I'm not sure if he's as informed as he needs to be, or if he just maybe misspoke, but yeah, it's kind of
Yeah.
confusing over here.
Yeah, it's an odd thing. Let me start pushing on. I just want to hear that there's one person, I'm looking it up here on X, because the argument is just too much to like show people on the screen. But one person said exactly what we're thinking. They said this MFer Elon Musk is not going to exhaust all of the American possibilities of job candidates before he goes overseas with HB1 visas to hire Indians and Africans and the Chinese. Yes, he's passing over Americans for jobs. Yes, they're taking our jobs. He wants to give them. So that's the main feeling of everybody who's on the other side of this debate. And you know, this is something that I brought up as well. I just don't think that they're exhausting all the possibilities. Again, there are genius level people. If we're talking about engineers, genius level. If we're talking about low level jobs, thousands of people, thousands, hundreds of thousands that are willing to fill these jobs. This talk of, oh, these Americans just don't want to work is nonsense. It's always been nonsense. You know, again, I said it before off camera when we were talking, and I said it even, you know, in the engineering scenario that I brought up. They're gonna want to be respected. They're gonna be want to be treated fairly. They're gonna understand what a working wage is. They're in America. They're gonna expect more, and that's what a lot of these employers, I think, are not liking so much. And it's sad to throw Vivek into that whole thing. Let's just play this quick clip from CNN. Oddly enough, CNN partaking in an X debate. I thought all these guys were going to blue sky. What happened? Now they're in X. They know what's going on in X. Funny to see that. Let me play this real quick. Let me slow it down. Oh, okay, it's already on one speed. Here you go.
Party. I mean, these are two top advisors to Trump. The MAGA world who are kind of framing this as the true believers who say, we asked for stricter immigration policies. That didn't mean coming with a carve out for high skilled workers that they say are taking American jobs here.
Yeah, look, I think with all due respect to Mr. Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, they should focus on saving federal dollars for the taxpayers and not immigration policy. I understand some of the points that Catherine made, and I agree to an extent, but I think the U.S. should focus more on domestic skill development. Studies also show that H1B1 exacerbates employers hiring individuals from outside of the country when they could potentially hire minorities, for an example, which we know there's a shortage in the STEM fields. There are a significant number of Americans who I think would love opportunities if they had the proper training and skills to operate in those jobs fairly well. So why not start and focus there? I'm not of the support or mindset, Caitlin, that we should let in more than the 60,000+ that were already let into the country. Do we have some deficits? I certainly understand that point, again, to what Catherine was sort of alluding to. But I think by focusing on increasing domestic skill development, you can decrease the furtherance of those deficits by virtue of saying, you know what, we're going to spend more of our time, more of our dollars educating our own citizens to compete for these jobs versus saying, let's increase to 100,000 or maybe even more for employers to bring in individuals from India, which is a predominant country where many of them come from. I don't agree with that at all. And I think folks in the MAGA world have every right to be angry with Vivek and Elon Musk.
Yeah, well, that's it.
Hold on. I think I uploaded a Fox News clip. I'm sorry. I thought it was CNN, but that was just Fox. What happened there?
That or Newsmax or something.
Yeah. I'm not sure. Is this a podcast? Is this CNN? Are you guys sure? Caitlin Collins, is that her? Oh my gosh. Here, let's go on a little bit more.
That's an interesting point because I saw that argument being made, but also I saw Mark Cuban, Mr. Mayor, responding to that saying, well, and I think we have what he had posted, quoting to Elon Musk and Vivek, saying, well, everyone, argue college is overrated. If you're arguing we need to have more homegrown engineers, don't we need more kids who are going to college? I mean, I think he's being a bit sarcastic there, but that is kind of the dual arguments that you see sometimes from this political orbit.
Look, I see a couple of things going on here. First of all, I have to say I agree with Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. I think they're pointing out the reality that we're living. You could say, and I hear Shermichael's point, I disagree with it though, because I think it misses the fact that we want to get to the place where we can maximize the use of our own talent in this country. Let's bring in the best and brightest from all around the world. Let's really make our economy stronger. Let's become even more tech dominant. That's the way, in fact, to elevate the whole country and to create more opportunity for Americans of all kinds in the tech field. So I don't know why on earth we wouldn't want to grab all the talent out there, especially because if we don't, our competitors will. I think it's also fascinating that we're seeing this kind of open conflict. I think it's going to be the first of many. And of course, that speaks to the question of Elon Musk's role. I think really soon we're going to see more divergence between Elon Musk and Donald Trump. It's natural, given each of them having the power they have. I think that's going to be a very, very important storyline in 2025, that these two people who appear to be allies but really have very different interests start to diverge issue by issue. We saw it also during the recent budget fight. I think we're going to see it on issues like artificial intelligence and climate, where Musk has been in a different place than Trump. That's going to have ramifications for how successful Trump can be in general. And then finally, I mean, look, for the MAGA world to be turning on their own this quickly. This is also an interesting question. They almost look like Democrats here. It's like, so I say this lovingly as a Democrat, like we have an ability to eat our own very quickly sometimes. Well, this is fascinating. Here are these heroes just a few minutes ago, and they say one thing that a lot of the MAGA world disagrees with, and suddenly they're being villainized. That's not good for that coalition.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to disagree, not just because I don't like Bill de Blasio, not even his real name, calls himself Bill de Blasio because it sounds more Italian, because he wanted to get elected mayor of New York City. He's the worst. He's just the worst. But also, this is what, you've called it the Unity Party. People call it the MAGA Party now. But this is what happens. People are able to have debates on this side and go back and forth, and it's not quite like the left where you disagree with one thing and now you're throwing those people out, or you're demonizing them, or you're calling them racist or this or that. People are people, for the most part, obviously there's a lot of people on X and they're doing all sorts of things, but people are having this respectful back and forth, and Vivek and Elon are even engaging in this back and forth. So I think it's actually healthy, because if the H1B visa thing just went on the way that, you know, maybe Vivek thought it should go, with hundreds of thousands of people just coming in, you know, that would have been good for him or Elon or, you know, anybody with big companies, tech companies. But for the American people to actually know and then to actually voice their opinion on it, this is the exact same thing that happened with that bill. I mean, that bill was bloated. They brought attention to it. There was a massive discussion on X. And the next thing you know, that, what was it, 1,547 page bill got reduced down to 116, got revised to 118. So all in all, I think it's healthy that this is happening. So I don't really agree with what he's saying there. But the black guy was on point. The black guy that was talking, he was on point.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I mean, if you look at what's going on with that title over there, it says over there, MAGA turns on Musk over immigration in Silicon Valley.
Yes.
You know, that's propaganda right there. The way you frame the news is in itself propaganda. You can count on CNN, the Clinton News Network, to do it to you every single time. MAGA's not turning on Musk and Vivek here. That's not what we're doing, okay? We're having a healthy debate, and that's important. When you have a party that's evolved, that's an all-encompassing of the American people itself, you're going to have differences of opinions. You're going to have to air these grievances. And this is how you make reforms. This is how you change laws to better suit the American people. And that's to open the debate. And that public discourse is important. And I think that's what separates us from the Democrats. But yeah, I don't think anyone here is eating their own here. I don't think anyone's hating on Musk or Vivek. I love them both. I like them both. They get some things right. They get some things wrong. I mean, they both voted for Obama, right? So, I mean, just saying.
That's 100% true. If they've gotten forgiven for voting for Obama, then, you know, they're going to be forgiven for this stance that they have here. But again, I think it's all very healthy, and I don't think there's one person who's heard what Vivek has to say and doesn't want him to be in Doge anymore, or heard Elon Musk kind of seconding what Vivek's saying, and now they're like, oh, we just don't want Doge altogether. No, forget cutting government spending and everything. Get these guys out of here. No one's doing that. So I'd agree with you. I don't think anybody's turning on their own. You know, you have some ex trolls and anonymous accounts that are going very hard with maybe the racial tones and, you know, maybe the kind of anarchist type of tones. But for the most part, you know, the people who are actually, I don't know what you'd call it, not anonymous, who are actually showing their face, showing their names, they're having a healthy debate.
Trolls will be trolls. You know, I just want to circle back to 1 second here. You know, we were talking about how we need to think about who we're bringing in. We have to also think about like why Americans need to focus on better jobs for the American people. If you go back to like the 1960s, you know, employers had a strong loyalty to their employees. And I think that there's some call it the wage rate bargain. And that's essentially, you know, the negotiation by which both employees and employers find common ground. And there's, you know, value in for both sides, essentially.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of it's become lopsided due to corporate greed these days. And I think that if we really want to talk about, you know, raising the level of the American people to I guess what they're trying to say, the level of the foreign engineers, we should talk about investing in the American people. And that starts by valuing them and having loyalty to them and training them. Because I'm telling you, if you put some training into some of these people, they're going to be some of the brightest minds you can possibly ever think of. And you know what? That loyalty, it'll be reciprocated. Just watch and see.
Yes. Yeah. That's very true. I mean, there is an argument to be made that somebody that was truly America first wouldn't even consider looking outside of America for these jobs, or at the very, very least, actually exhausting all options in America before venturing outside of it. There is an argument to be made there. Now, Elon Musk has not put himself out there as that America first, but Vivek has. He very much has. Throughout his campaign, throughout him campaigning for Trump, He's put himself in that box of being very, very America first. So again, to hear him saying all this stuff, it's interesting. And you know what else is interesting? I didn't pull up a clip of it. Charlie Kirk was kind of on board with what Vivek's saying as well, which I found very surprising. Very, very surprising. I would have thought Charlie Kirk would have been 100% just, we need to focus on America. But Charlie Kirk is more in the camp of, where a lot of people are, which is, bring people in, but have them be vetted. The past 4 years, it's been millions of people. You don't know who they are. You don't know what they have with them. You don't know where they're from. Nothing. So people are just really looking for, secure the border and just vet these people. So they don't even have the luxury, especially if you're living in a border town, you don't even have the luxury to worry about this whole H1B thing going on right now.
Yeah, just to touch on this as well, America does need to bring in the brightest minds of all. They do. I mean, we wouldn't have people like Elon Musk right now if we didn't. I think that's important, but it's just that the current legislation, it's being compromised and it's being utilized by bad actors who wish to exploit it. And I think that this right here is, I think what you just put on the screen there is a great example of it, and that's kind of where I'm going with it. I'm not going to sit here and tell you we don't need to bring in the brightest minds of all. You do. I think, why not? It will make America a better place for it. But that doesn't seem to be what's actually happening. It seems like it's so much more. And I think you could talk about it right over here. You can see that some of the jobs given are 7-Eleven cashiers and track coaches and janitors and director of pickleball and bakers. I mean, these are all jobs that could be homegrown and trained and should be, in my opinion. So
yeah. That's what usually happens with this type of thing. It's always positioned as we're just talking about these high level engineers, and it's just stuff that you wouldn't even comprehend. You didn't even go to school for this kind of thing. That's all this is. And then when you really look at it and you look into it, it's affecting the working class. It's just like, with the border, they were saying the border is very secure and, it's not that bad, and you want a virtue signal, and, whoever's coming over, they're just looking for a better life. And then all of a sudden it's like, you actually go to Chicago and you actually hone in on people who are affected. And they're like, no, this is crazy. We're scared to leave. Some people are scared to leave their house. Other people have been attacked. Police officers getting beat up in New York. And then all of a sudden you start to see, oh no, this is actually affecting the people who are working class, people who are in the hood, the Black community, the Hispanic community. It's interesting. So I'm not surprised to see, because you're the one that showed me this clip to pull up. I'm not surprised that it's actually these people. When they come over, how many people, when they come over from a place, go, oh, I'm going to get a job as an engineer. Even if they are an engineer, even if they are a high level engineer, they still end up with jobs like this. And they could be in a job like this for years before they even get into that engineer position. So the whole thing, like, maybe Elon Musk is, maybe he's reaching down and handpicking people and saying, you're going to work at Tesla. Maybe that happens, a few, but most of them who aren't going to Tesla and aren't going to X and all these places, they're going to be in those jobs, and they might be in those jobs for a long time,
Yeah. The other problem I have with it is, if you look at Canada, that's what they were sold on as well. The top 0.01 talent for, foreign workers and whatnot. And if you look at what's going on over there, I mean, it's like 15% youth unemployment. There's a housing shortage of like 4 million homes. You have diploma mills. All right. I mean, the list just goes on and on on of all the issues with it.
Can you tell me a little, what's a diploma mill? Because I know you sent me that Trudeau clip. I'm going to play that soon, but what is a diploma mill?
So it's actually important because President Trump touched upon it. He was suggesting, if I'm not mistaken, that the idea is anyone who comes to study in the United States and achieves a certain level of academic status should be granted a green card. And I happen to disagree with that model because we've seen it exploited over in Canada. A diploma mill is essentially a school that is established essentially within the supposed credentials that's required to, be an academic institution. And what it does is it allows for foreigners to come on over and, get a diploma or some sort of degree or something that in a way that may be slightly off the books, unethical. There might not be, everything's might not be above board. And they do it as a way to, as a backdoor for immigration, essentially, is what it's
They
become.
do this with truckers. I remember
Really?
working in, because my whole thing, I took supply chain management in school. I was always working in warehousing and managing warehouses, working as forklift operator, this that. And the truckers, we would always see, and we'd always hear about accidents and stuff. We would see these guys who just aren't qualified. And again, back then you'd see it as, oh, this old racist white man is talking down about these Indian truckers. But he would be like, they're not properly trained. He goes, they're taking these hauls, they don't have the hours put in. And then I actually went to a trucking school. I actually have my I think it's forget what it's so I can drive some not buses, bigger than buses, like a cement truck. I forget what license it is. I've had it for a long time. I kind of just pushed it aside. It was like a Plan Z for me in case things didn't work out. But I remember being in that school and having this weird way where it would be like, this is the test. And they would just kind of replay the test over and over again. And they did it in a way where you couldn't fail at all. Even if you didn't know what you were doing, you couldn't fail. You'd go in, you'd sit down and do all the things. If you messed up, you'd sit outside for a second. They'd be like, okay, do you remember what to do? Get back in. It was weird. And it was very much a mill. And I remember doing it all with, and again, it's not to focus on Indians, but at the time, there was a lot of Indian people that were in line with me doing this whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what it is. It's a school that's essentially, accredited, but is not really above board.
Yes.
And it's all with the intent of backdoor immigration purposes. And that's one of the major problems with it. But you also have to look at, what happened there too. I mean, massive rent inflation by about like 40%, housing inflation by 40, 50%.
Mm.
I mean, they can't find jobs, even like low level jobs. I
Yeah.
mean, does America really want this? I mean, I'm all for recruiting the best talent in the world, but I just don't know if the existing legislation is going to actually be properly implemented, because it seems like in the past, and I think we have the clips to show it, that it's been actually the complete opposite. It's been exploited in a very, very negative and sad way. But yeah, it's heart wrenching when you see some of the stories, and I'm sure we're going to get through it today.
Yeah, definitely. So this thing here, this was pretty much everything that Elon's looking for. Is that what this is? Or is this is what he, and again, we weren't able to, verify that this is exactly a thing from Tesla, blah, blah, blah. I know you wanted to make sure to say that, but is this is like material planner, associate industrial engineer, engineering. And you know what I will say, it's verified enough for me. We're talking about Elon's companies. I don't see a community notes warning on this at all. That's verified enough for me. So what are we looking at here exactly?
So I don't actually have that open on my screen over here, but I believe what this was, I think it was a list of lower level engineering jobs that were not in high demand.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was largely presented online due to the lower wages associated with them. Like if you had a certain accreditation with engineering, you'd want to assume a higher role or a higher position.
Yeah.
At least that's what was my understanding of it. But I mean, what does it say here? High skill top 0.1%, not whatever
Because
this is.
that
That's the thing. That's not what this is.
Yeah, exactly. So Elon and Vivek were talking about it being these top zero point 0.1 type people that would need to come in. But in reality, the people, because it says right here, H1B salary database 2024, and then it's a bunch of much lower level salaries. I mean, fantastic salaries. I mean, listen, if you're like me, whatever, where we come from.
Yeah.
How things were growing up for us.
Great
These are great
salaries over
salaries. Yeah, they're great salaries, but they're not in that bracket that they're trying to make it out to seem like they're fighting for right now in terms of this talent. We're seeing the top salary being 90K. A lot of engineering positions that they're talking about are, those guys who are getting six figures, maybe even seven, depending on the company and what they're doing, the scope of what they're doing. So just an interesting little thing here. This is Patrick Bet David. We were talking about this. Patrick Bet David's take on the whole thing. I know you disagreed with this. I didn't quite agree with it either. I think he's, again, this is someone focusing on a very small percentage of people. And he has some stats, though, so let's hear him out. Let's just play this real quick.
Watch this. New statistics. Do you know what percent of Gen Z workers claim they experience burnout at work?
I get scheduled for 25 hours a week. I'm literally about to quit.
Not 20%, not 40%, not 80%, not 90%. 98% of you experience burnout.
Every single day, go and work somewhere and do that 5 times a week?
How? You're in your early 20s. Watch this. 23% face unmanageable stress and 48% feel drained. According to a Cigna survey, Gen Z is the most stressed generation of all time. And by the way, according to 1,000 leaders that are hiring people out there, watch what they said. This is employers talking about Gen Zers. 6 in 10 employers reporting firing recent Gen Z college graduates within months of hiring them. 1 in 7 employers indicated they may refrain from hiring new graduates next year's unsatisfactory performance. 75% of companies said some or all of their Gen Z hires were unsatisfactory. 50% reported that Gen Z workers showed a lack of motivation, and 39% of Gen Zs lacked communication skills. 46% noted a lack of professionalism. This is a problem. Watch.
So this is Patrick Bet David. Here's the thing, though. I'm going to put on the tinfoil Speedo really quick. Wouldn't those 1,000 leaders have a little bit of an incentive to say that they've exhausted all of their options, and the Gen Z, they just can't do it. I've had to fire some, this, that. I just got to reach out to India, and yeah, I'm going to pay them a little less, but at least they're going to show up. I mean, it's what we're experiencing right now. I'm very sorry to say. I don't know. Like, you could make that argument that they could just be fudging the numbers a little bit here in order to get what they want. Every major company, I shouldn't say every major company, but a lot of major companies, big companies, they want to reach out outside the American borders. They want to reach out to people who they could pay a little less. They want to reach out to people that they kind of have by the balls. Because, like, if you don't have this job, you're probably not going to be able to exist in the country for that much longer, you know? Whereas when you have an American, the American knows, you know, I have the inalienable rights from God. You know, I know what I'm entitled to. I know what I'm worth, you know? And if I leave this job, it's not like I'm getting kicked out of the country or anything. So they got to kind of, you know, it's a completely different dynamic, you know?
I think you hit the nail right on the head there. You know, part of what they have to do is they have to kind of say, hey, listen, you know, we can't fill these jobs. Mm-hmm. And that in itself is what allows them to go ahead and recruit different foreigners to fill them. So I think you hit the nail on the head there. But I think there's, you know, if you want to play devil's advocate and you want to say there's truth to what he's saying over here, mm-hmm. I think that some of this has to come from certain reforms. And, you know, this is where you have to look at something like social media. And you have to think, okay, well, are some of these people acting for social media? I mean, like, because it seems like a lot of this is just some sort of act to get attention, you know, and there's a lot of that these days online.
Yeah.
But at the same time, also, you know, we talk about 6 in 10 employers reporting firing recent Gen Z college graduates. Well, that kind of goes back to what I was saying about, you know, employers not being loyal to their employees. Mm-hmm. In the 1960s, you know, when you had an employee that maybe wasn't, you know, up to par, you know, you would say, listen, we're going to train this person and we're going to make a worker out of them for life. Mm-hmm. And that was an investment in itself. But what happens these days is it's just you kind of toss them away. And that's going to impact these college graduates. It's going to impact the younger society. It's going to make them feel like they're, you know, just nothing, really garbage. You just toss them away like nothing. You know, they are talking about 75% of companies said some or all their Gen Z hires were unsatisfactory. Is that really true? Or is it kind of like what you were saying right there? Like, you know, they kind of have to say it so that they can go ahead and hire foreign-born ones.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think it's probably a combination, right? But I think there's a bit of an exaggeration there. Again, there could be people acting. And I will also say, there is a little bit of, there's unloyalty in companies. And I will say, in truth, there is a little bit of unloyalty with workers as well. People aren't sticking with jobs for 20 years like they used to. They know that they can work 3 years and get another job, more money, work up again, switch jobs. They know that they could do that. So that does happen as well. But I don't know, man. I just think it's a combination. And I just don't buy that Americans as a whole are just too lazy to fill these jobs. I just don't buy it. And like I said to you off camera, if we're going to act like there is not, Vivek is a perfect example. There's a second generation American who, as soon as he walks through the door of his house, his parents are like, you're in little Mumbai right now. And we're going by Mumbai rules, buddy. You think there's not a Russian family that's like, you're in Mother Russia as soon as you come through these doors. This is the Soviet Union, my friend. This is communism right now. You're going to do this work. You think there's not a Chinese family that's like that in America? And we can just times this by tens of thousands of people. Do you think that doesn't exist at all?
100% it does.
I just don't believe it. I just don't.
It does. But, just going back to the video too, one of the other things that they said was that, just pulling it up here, 39% of Gen Z lack communication skills. Like, yeah, it's because they're all online all day. Turn the TV off, send them outside, like these are skills that can be developed if we just make a bit of a cultural shift and start realizing how technology is kind of shaping our world, and it's having adverse effects on the people themselves that were not predicted because, we couldn't have. I mean, there's a famous saying, something along the lines of like, we shape our tools and then they shape us. And that's kind of what's happened over here. Social media itself and the advances in communications and everything, it's kind of come in so quickly that we couldn't possibly have predicted all of the adverse effects that that would occur on American society itself. And what we're seeing here is we're seeing the result of that. But that right there, the solution to that is not to say we don't hire them. The solution to that is trying to make reforms, educate the public, and try to find solutions that help people learn what not to do or what they should do to be better at communication, to be more professional, to be more motivated. And then I think at that point, you're going to have grown workers. And that's when you want to roll the clip? You can go ahead.
No, yeah, sorry. I just I clicked on it. I didn't realize it was going to play, but I want you to remember everything we were just talking about because I have an idea of what could happen, and it's kind of the inverse of what happened to this gentleman, which is actually absolutely terrible. Listen to this, guys.
Yeah.
I walked into a small conference room with about 24 highly respected fellow IT workers. The Disney executive made a harsh announcement to us all. All of you in this room will be losing your jobs in the next 90 days. Your jobs have been given over to a foreign workforce. In the meantime, you will be training your replacements until your jobs are 100% transferred over to them. And if you do not cooperate, you will not receive any severance pay. I was completely silent during this meeting, thinking how this was going to affect my coworkers. How was I going to break news to my family and pay all of our expenses? I would soon be living on unemployment. Later that same day, I clearly remember going to the local church pumpkin sale and having to tell the kids I couldn't buy any that year because my job was being turned over to a foreign worker. I started to think what kind of an American I was becoming. Was I going to become part of ruining our country by taking severance pay in exchange for training my foreign replacement? How many other American families would be affected by the same foreign worker that I trained? The first part of my 90-day period was focused on capturing all that we did with our jobs. We all felt extremely humiliated when the foreign worker sat next to us and watched everything that we did. The final period of the 90 days was the most disgraceful and demoralizing as we had to watch the foreign workers completely take over our jobs. And we came to grips that the upcoming Disney jobs promise didn't exist. Then finally on January 31st of 2015, we were ordered to turn in our company badges, laptops, and then ushered out the door. How can it be that everybody that hears these stories about Disney and the like, from the barbers to the bankers, are completely shocked? Yet our lawmakers continue to debate the topic and take no action. The reason that more affected IT workers don't come out into the public is twofold. And that is why most lawmakers mostly hear from the tech giants and are very rarely heard from the displaced American workers who will disclose themselves publicly.
Man, that is wild to hear. But the first thing that comes to mind as we're talking about all this is, if you really care about American workers, right? And of course, not to just focus on Vivek, but, if you really care and you're really in a position, why not have these foreign people come and train up Americans? If they're not up to, if they're there and they're not up to code, why not have these foreign guys who are just incredible, apparently? Why not have them train people up, and then they get paid, and then they go back to their country after that contract's done, and then you have a trained up American there who you didn't have to let go, and you didn't have to mess up an American family. Why not do that? Rather than have this crazy story, which he's not the only person who went through it, right? There was a bunch of people who went through this. Why not do that instead? Like, I don't know. Kind of makes sense. I mean, why have this happen? This is crazy.
Yeah, this is gut-wrenching. It really is. And this is kind of going to what I think the whole point of this discussion really is about. It's that we have to think about the American lives that this is affecting. Obviously, we want America to thrive. We want it to be stronger than ever. We want to bring in the most brilliant minds possible. But at what cost?
Yeah.
And that's a question we have to ask ourselves. These are American lives, and they deserve better. And, to comment on what you said there, I think someone actually did something like that recently. Because America's manufacturing capabilities is so limited these days, because we sent all the jobs overseas, Americans pretty much forgot how to manufacture some goods. It may have even been Elon Musk who did it. And they brought some of these foreign skilled workers over to actually train Americans how to manufacture those goods again. I think it's a brilliant idea, Coach. I think that's a, what? Why don't we do that?
It would be a great help to that country. It would help that other country where, let's just say again, we're focusing on India because that's what's going on. And this is IT, so, it probably was a lot of that. But, send a bunch of guys back to their home country with a great check. They got a little bit of the American experience. They showed that company how great they can do in training people up. Maybe they'll get called up again to do the same thing. Maybe another company will call them up to do the same thing. They get money for their family. That transfer of USD to their currency, it's massive. It's incredible. It seems like a win-win. And then you have an American who's trained up. He knows what to do. He's all good. He made a nice new friend. Maybe he becomes a pen pal or something like that. Done. Like, why not do that?
It's sort of like an ambassadorship is what you're referring to. I think it's a great idea. And it's kind of like what you were saying. It's like, why does every reward have to be citizenship? Why can't it just be that, the American dollar is worth so much, and it's worth so much to such a point where, you can earn American dollars, go back home to some of these countries and live large. Okay. I mean, I've seen it before. I've seen people who have come over from schools, from other parts of the world that they just plan to work a few years, and then go back to their home countries living large. That there should be incentives like that. But why does it always have to be to compromise American jobs or the American people? And I think there's a better way to do it. And I think that what you just said there is a great example of how to go ahead and move forward with it.
Yeah. I think that, I don't know. It's better than hearing this story. This is crazy. Yeah. This is insane.
It's tough to listen to.
Can you imagine? You have to train people. You have to train someone in everything you do, and then they just take your job and you leave. That's crazy.
I couldn't do it, Coach. I would just get up and walk away. It would be too much.
And on top of that, they're holding your severance hostage.
I know.
They're holding your severance hostage. Like, you're not going to get this unless you do that for us. Oh my gosh.
That's just evil. That is evil right there. But again, it is Disney. So, I mean, I can't say I'm that surprised,
Yeah, right.
The problem is it's not just Disney though, right? I mean, if it was just Disney, I don't think we'd be having this conversation today. There's
I walked into a
this happening everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. So moving on to Trudeau, you were talking about how Canada, I always try to show people, I know a lot of times people don't care about what's going on in Canada, but there's some things where I'm like, no, you have to see this because that's where we're headed. Like when I show people what's going on in the UK, I'm not all that involved in what's going on with the UK emotionally, but I'm like, you guys need to see what's happening. Like they form these hate speech laws and now it's extending online and now they're arresting people for tweets. It's like, you got to really understand that that's a possibility, right? The UK was just like America a few years ago, 15, 20 years ago. They were very similar. Now it's completely changed. Canada, same thing. Canada, doing what they're doing with the internet. Trudeau being in office, what he's all about, slowly inching from socialism to this other weird thing. It's really like, you need to know what's possible. So I'm not sure how, like, this clip seems like it's 6 minutes. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but is there any timestamp that you can think of, or should I just start from the beginning?
Yeah, I think pretty much the beginning would drum it up. But I think just a comment on what you were just saying there. I think one of the reasons why you have to look at these other countries, because America has a population that's so vast in comparison to that of Canada. So when you have these big cultural shifts that happen and occur, it's on a much smaller level over in the United States because it's just, there's such a large population, but it's so much more impactful on Canada because their population's like, it's the size of one state, Yeah. So I just rolled the clip pretty much. I think we'll see what you got to see there.
All right, we'll hear from Governor Trudeau right now.
Let's talk about it. In the last 2 years, our population has grown really fast, like baby boom fast. And increasingly, bad actors like fake colleges and big chain corporations have been exploiting our immigration system for their own interests. So we're doing something major. We're reducing the numbers of immigrants that will come to Canada for the next 3 years. Today, I'm going to let you in on what happened, where we made some mistakes, and why we're taking this big turn. There are two kinds of immigration in Canada. The one you probably think of most is permanent immigration, like when families come to Canada to settle and call it home. Every year, the government determines the right number of permanent residents that we want to admit. That's how it's been done for decades. But a plan that only talks about permanent immigration misses the other pathway, temporary immigration. Temporary residents are people who come to Canada for a limited time, like international students, temporary workers, and so on. They come to work a job or go to school. When the job is done or when they finish their degree, most return home. Some apply to stay as permanent residents, but most return home. So back to this year's plan. Historically, Canada's annual immigration plan just looked at permanent residents. The number of temporary students and workers that we admitted each year was left to the demands of the economy. It was usually a small proportion of our population, so it's never been a part of the long-term immigration plan. But after the pandemic, our economy came roaring back quickly, and we needed a lot of workers fast.
Canada is in the middle of a huge labor shortage.
I just want to say that's the real mirroring right there. Like, whoa, we needed a lot of workers fast. We needed them. Oh man, these Canadians, they just weren't up to the task. There just wasn't, we needed other people right away.
Shortage. Temporary foreign workers became such a significant part of our workforce that it'd be a mistake not to include them when we plan our immigration levels. So this year, we did exactly that for the first time. We laid out a plan that sets targets for both permanent and temporary residents. This way, we're getting the full breakdown of people coming into our country so we can prepare the homes and infrastructure needed to support them. Like I said, immigration is based on demand. When we set our targets, we look at every province and territory. We ask the premiers, what are the gaps in your workforce? Is your population growing or getting older? We field calls from businesses, CEOs, economic experts, all sharing their thoughts on where we should set our targets.
We've had a chronic shortage of labor for the last decade. It is the #1 issue of all manufacturers across Canada. So we think there needs to be more, push the pedal to the floor to bring more people into Canada, because
Ontario is facing a generational labor shortage. 380,000 jobs are going unfilled.
It's no surprise that every sector has different wants and needs when it comes to immigration. But after the pandemic, they all came to us with the same message. After 2 years with closed borders, we need more people, more workers, fast.
Those closed borders, man, they'll do it to you every time. Your country will crumble without those open borders. You need your border doors wide open, or else everything collapses. Oh my gosh. But I actually do like that you chose this clip, because this is a major foreshadowing. This conversation that they're having, this is a major foreshadowing, because this is what it ends up turning into, where the government starts backing it. They start requesting more and more people. And, the part that obviously Trudeau's not going to talk about is that, a bunch of Canadians get shafted in this whole process. A bunch, thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions even.
Well, that's just it, right? I mean, look, the rhetoric seems very similar, right? I mean, we need these immigrants. We need them to fill the jobs. The jobs are not going to be filled otherwise. We need them. And don't get me wrong, there's some sectors where you do have to bring some in. I'm aware of that. I'm not disputing that. But even this guy over here, Justin Trudeau, even he figured out that, maybe it's not the best idea when you bring people in who don't have the same values as that of your own people, because they're going to go ahead and make fake colleges and find other ways to undermine the society in which that they're coming to. And you also see this actually in the UK too as well. Minister Keir Starmer also discussed how they pretty much were running an open borders experiment in the UK. And you see it in the UK, you see it in Canada, and now suddenly in the United States, we're going to submit to the same rhetoric again and just pretend like our head is in the sand. Like, we've seen it before, time and time again. Like, it needs to stop. Yes, we need some immigration. Okay, every country needs some immigration, but to what extent? And that's where the H-1B visas, you know what? Maybe there has to be some reforms there. Maybe it has to be terminated and new legislation has to come out that essentially deals with bad actors compromising that legislation, but at the same time also bringing in the essential needed immigrants that really are the special people that Elon Musk and Vivek are speaking of. But I don't think crapping on the culture of America is the way to do it. I think at this point right now, we have to think about immigration reform. And America's been thinking about that for some time now. Hopefully they can get it done this time with both, the House, the Senate, and also the presidency.
Yeah, it just needs to. My line of thinking is you need to just focus on Americans and actually exhaust all of those possibilities. Now, maybe Elon Musk, he has massive companies. They're always working. They work beyond even his scope of knowing. Maybe they have. Maybe they have at Tesla. Maybe they have at X. You could argue at X, they fired a bunch of engineers. Now they're saying they need engineers.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. But again, it goes past those two and obviously to other major companies. I just think it should be, Americans shouldn't be made to feel bad that they're expecting to be considered first for American jobs. And honestly, I would love to know Trump's position on all this, because I know he was saying the whole degree thing, you should get a green card and everything, but this is not the same thing. Trump was talking about education, so that at least would be a process of, 4 years for your 4-year degree, 6 years, your PhD or whatever it might be, your master's, I mean. So it might be a longer process in terms of what Trump's talking about. Vivek is, what he's talking about is like right away kind of thing. You're just reaching over, grabbing those people right away, I just don't agree with that. And also, I just want to move on to, thinking right away, I thought about what would JD Vance think about all this? He's been kind of quiet on this whole thing, but he has had some tweets that he's put out there. One saying making it affordable for hardworking young person to afford a family is the core of America First. Too many have bought the lie that the path to prosperity is to flood the nation with cheap labor, and the next administration will fight for American workers. Now, this is something that he didn't put this out like right away. He put this out, yeah, I think while they were campaigning, but it kind of speaks to this whole thing. I think this is where he stands on this topic. I think I don't know that he would be quite in line with Vivek on this whole thing. I have a couple of snippets here of him actually talking just really
The way
quick.
to destroy the wages of American workers is to import 20 million illegal aliens and let them stay here with work visas. The way to destroy...
So again, this is while they were campaigning, but it just shows like maybe he wouldn't agree with his friend Vivek as much as one might think.
We're done importing foreign labor. We're going to fight for American citizens and their good jobs and their good wages.
Thank you.
So that's JD Vance's stance there. And then also it was another talk of the same thing. I just want to get your thoughts quickly, and then I got to move over to some breaking news that I just found out about.
You know, I think JD Vance, I think he outlined exactly what we're all thinking. It's that you don't want to suppress American workers by bringing in foreign workers.
Yes.
And you don't want to suppress those jobs also, you know. And of course, you know, immigration is important, but how we go about doing it is very important discussion. I'm happy we're having it. I just hope everyone's on board to do the right thing. And I'll leave it at that.
So breaking news that just came out, over 100 January 6 defendants are filing a $50 billion class action lawsuit against the Department of Justice. This is a very interesting take. I've been looking all over X. People have been talking about this quite a bit. I have to see how deep this actually goes. You know, I do have respect for X and the work people do on there, but I also like to look outside of it a little bit as well, just to kind of connect more dots. But it's seeming like a lot of people are talking about this $50 billion class action lawsuit against the DOJ. Yeah, interesting. I just saw that as like a breaking thing that's coming out. I don't know how far that's going to go, or if they're even going to be able to execute on that. I'm not sure, but interesting.
I think they will be able to.
You think
I mean,
so?
they've come out and said that they had, what was it, informants there doing God knows what inside there.
26, yeah.
Yeah, they opened the doors. Apparently the doors like magnetically locked. Like, they can't just they literally let them in. And then they say they push their way. And like, come on.
Yeah, there's a lot of odd stuff. There's like a little film here and there of people with like earpieces and whatnot. But again, developing story. I don't know much about it, but I just wanted to let people know that. We're moving on to this man here. Should be deported already? Should be gone already? I don't even know. I hope they're not wasting tax dollars on this guy, or, you know, I don't know. I don't understand what happens with a guy like this. Apparently, he was the one that was responsible for the passing away. What was her name? Say her name for me, please.
You know what? The name is actually not confirmed.
Okay.
I thought it was Amelia Carter. That's what everyone was running with originally on X. But the body was burned so bad that even 5 days later, they still cannot identify who it is. Believe it or not.
Yeah. So this man was responsible for lighting someone on fire. Absolutely crazy. That is his face. That is him being taken away. That is him as well. People are infuriated. Trump administration previously deported him. This was something I wanted to talk to you about, or at least show to you. They deported him, the Guatemalan immigrant who set the woman on fire, but he re-entered the country illegally under the Biden administration. He was released into the interior. People are infuriated, of course. He was even living in a NYC migrant shelter, being subsidized by your tax dollars. Wild.
Yep. Can you believe that? American taxpayers paying for him to be there.
Wild. And then also just him just being drunk. Like he was like, apparently this happened. He was drunk. He was telling somebody to leave him alone. He was incredibly drunk, ranting about how he wanted to be left alone to drink. I guess the woman annoyed him by offensively sleeping on the train. This is what people are speculating. This is just a video of him. He's talking, but it's in Spanish. I don't know what he's saying. If you speak Spanish here, I'll play it.
La pregunta es de que yo tomo mi cerveza y yo vivo lo que yo soy mientras que no molesto a nadie, no molesto a nadie. ¿Por qué la puta?
So this is him basically saying he wants to be left alone. So basically this guy was in the country just getting drunk, chilling every day, has a cell phone, for crying out loud. Crazy. And yeah, he decided to light this woman on fire on the train, even fan the flames. I know that you have a video about that. Maybe you get a little more graphic. I don't want to show anything like that. I didn't even want to show the censored version, but you do see someone on fire. You do see him fanning the flames, and it's just crazy. It's just crazy that that was able to happen. I don't know why. I don't know why Democrats love this chaos so much. Like, maybe they don't realize everything that they're endorsing turns into this chaos. Maybe they just don't realize it. But it's just pure, rampant chaos in these places. It's crazy.
Well, I think they want that chaos because it ushers in another level of government control and oversight, right? I mean, that's how you sign your life away, right? They never let a crisis go to waste, right?
True.
But, Coach, I got to say, this man should be charged not at the state level, but at the federal level. That way he gets what he deserves, and that's the death penalty. All right. It seems like there are those who are pushing back against it, but I really hope he is charged at the federal level.
I think it's a wild thing that he did. I mean, I don't know, people are pushing for, capital punishment. I'm sure people are pushing for, just him just being in jail forever, no possibility of parole. I'm sure there's a whole debate. My thinking is he just shouldn't be in the country. Like, if he's still in the I don't even understand. If he's still in the just get him out of the country.
You can't send him back to Guatemala. He has to serve for his pay for his crimes.
He would have to. There would have to be something worked out to where he went to jail, because for American tax, let's say he does get like 100 years or something like that. American taxpayers are not paying for 100 years of this guy being in jail. That adds up. That adds up to like $1 million some odd dollars. Just no. If he lives to a certain point, it really adds up. So if he's not gonna get capital punishment, he should just he needs to be gone. People like this need to be gone. And here's the thing: he did this. This is not the first time he did something. Maybe not to this extent, but this is not the first time he did something wild. And that's why the vetting process is so important, because he probably lied about who he was. He probably has a crazy rap sheet, which is why as soon as he got back to Guatemala, he left again. He probably has charges there. Maybe he's not wanted or anything, but he's probably done things there. He didn't want the American government to know what he's done. He probably lied about his name, because so many of them do. They get rid of all their identification. They walk up, they say, my name is this, and that's it. I just don't, I don't know, man. I've covered the border for so long, so much, that it looks so insane. And then you have stuff like this happen. You have the Lake and Riley case. You have the, and I'm so sorry, I keep missing her name, but the 12-year-old who was also, her life was taken. It's just getting so exhausting, just seeing this over and over again. And it just keeps upping. It goes from violent to like, this is just ultra violent. You know what I mean? It's just crazy. Like, this is Purge type. This is movie type stuff.
That's the thing. I mean, when going back to the whole immigration debate, like, you have to make sure that you're properly vetting who's coming into your country and that their values are consistent with that of your own people. And clearly this person has no values whatsoever, because what he did was just downright evil.
Yeah, this is not drunk. This is not like he was drunk and did this. This is insane. This is nuts.
Coach, he walked up to her while she was on fire and he fanned the flames, okay? Like, he completely was going up and down trying to spread that fire. And what's crazy about this is nobody got involved. I mean, I listened to the video. It's too graphic to put on YouTube, okay? You can find it on X if you want, but I recommend you don't watch it. It's pretty tough to watch.
I'll find it on X and I'll repost it. So you can always come to my X and it'll be there. But yeah, I didn't want to play it on YouTube.
There you go. I mean, look, it sounded almost as if there was like some lighthearted banter in the background. Like, look, there's a woman on fire or something. Like,
oh yeah, there was one dude who was just like, "Yo, whoa." Whoa,
right.
Wow.
Why is your phone out? Go do something about it. But then at the same time, then you have the Daniel Penny situation, which I get. But what also doesn't make sense, though, is there was a police officer that legitimately walked right by the cabin.
Twice.
Twice. Okay, I saw only once.
Yeah, he
turned
walked
his
by
head,
once and then he
looked at it and just kept walking.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
It's crazy. It's very, very interesting that this keeps happening in New York. And, you know, then you have Eric Adams coming out like a day or two later. People all around the world agree there's no better place to place to visit for business or pleasure than New York City. This past year, we had 65 million visitors, all of which he's leaving out were illegal immigrants. He's leaving that part out. All these new millions of visitors you had, they're all illegal immigrants and ICE agents. 100%. It's crazy. So this is the delusion that they get to. Then we even have, no, hold on. Before I show that, I want to show this is the New York governor. She posted a video yesterday boasting about how she made the subway safer. Today, a woman was burned alive on the subway. This is the person just talking about it. But here she is.
I'm on the subway train heading out to Queens Center. I have a lot of, not quite last minute, but I have holiday shopping to do. I've got an adorable 2-year-old granddaughter, so it's a lot more fun to shop. I can take the subway wherever we need to go. And I want all New Yorkers to feel safe, which is why we've added so many more National Guard, over 250 more people that'll make sure that your ride is as safe as it can be.
Just insanely out of touch to put that up after that happens. Just crazy. He's talking about it's the greatest place to visit. She's talking about how safe it is. Again, I don't know why they embrace this crazy amount of chaos. It's so odd. It's so odd that the left-leaning people, and it's not just in America, it's in Canada, it's in the UK, it's in Ireland now. It's very odd that everybody who seems to be left-leaning, you know, and I shouldn't say everybody, I'm not saying the whole population, but these people who are in these governments, they're all embracing this crazy amount of chaos. And then they turn to you and they go, it's safe. It's fine. No, it's fine. It's crazy. It just baffles me, man.
One of them was stabbed in the face and another one was stabbed in the chest that same day, I believe.
It's just, I don't get it.
The frequency of which these crimes are happening, like, don't get me wrong, like there is a lawlessness issue and crime issue throughout America right now, but it seems like it's predominantly in democratic cities. You know,
very much predominantly. Like it's an extreme amount. It's wild. So we have Rep Anna Paulina Luna. If you don't know who she is, she's very vocal about supporting Trump. She's very, very conservative. She's calling for capital punishment as well. So she wants that to happen. She's pushing for it. She's actually in a position to do that, or at least to, you know, help that along the way. So there are people who feel like you. There's many people who feel that way. We also have this creator here.
He deserves the chair.
Yeah, she usually imitates Kamala Harris and stuff. She's well known on social media, but even she had this to say. She broke character and kind kind of went off on Eric Adams and the governor.
The leadership constantly over here is just gaslighting. I'm sorry, a woman gets burned alive while she's sleeping on a train, minding her own fucking business on a Sunday morning. And you come out and you say, hey, the city is a much safer place. Oh, I'm very proud of that. I just don't understand where the fuck you get off raising the price again to $3 now, okay? The rats are literally having doctor's visits in the tracks, and people are getting burned alive. And you're talking about you've made it safer? I don't understand. Where do they find these scumbags to come and run New York City? Where? From fucking Adams? This bitch? Don't get me started on William de Blasio. It just really pisses me off because, you know, if with the right leadership, it could be a really, really beautiful city. And they're just so stupid. It's a special kind of stupid. Do you remember William de Blasio? Do you remember Bill de Blasio when he came out? What, you're saying like there's a burger element to this? You're saying I can get fries if I get vaccinated and fucking kill myself? Who said? Mm-hmm. That's right. God damn, you're a good mayor. I mean, you sold me. You sold me. Give me a MetroCard. Get some lighter fluid. And I know
She's actually really funny, but she's 100% hitting every point right now. I mean, this is how, and honestly, this is how a majority of New Yorkers feel. You know, this is why there was such a flip in New York when it came to Trump. You know, this is why Eric Adams, although he has that delusional take, he is willing to work alongside Tom Homan to get rid of the public threats, as Tom Homan puts it. And he's willing to work alongside ICE and Tom Homan and do whatever he has to do to accommodate them in trying to remove all of the illegal immigrants who pose a threat and otherwise.
You know, it's kind of funny because Eric Adams has kind of come around, but it's only because so many illegal migrants were bussed into his city repeatedly again and again and again. And then they had to see exactly what it was like. And now he's starting to, you know, what is he? Is he red pilled now? Is that what it's called now?
No, he's FBI pilled. Yeah, he has that indictment. Okay. He has that indictment, and now all of a sudden he's like, maybe Trump will help me out if I start to walk straight. You know what I mean?
So that's what
I think. That's what I think. 100%. He got hit with that. There's a whole theory I have because he got hit with that indictment. Then there was a correspondence dinner where Trump actually showed up and Kamala Harris didn't. She just came she just sent a message. And Trump said, he's like, they came after you like they came after me. He's like, I know. He's like, Trump said it out loud. He's like, as soon as you spoke against the whole immigration thing, I was like, oh, they're going to indict him. He's like, and then later on, they indicted him. He's like, you'll be okay. You'll be okay. And I think Trump saying you'll be okay, I think there may have been some kind of talk there where it's like, I'll help you out, but you're not going to be this radical left-leaning person if I'm helping you out. You're going to walk the line. You're going to walk the MAGA line.
Well, he did come out publicly and say that he was considering helping him if need be.
He said he was like, he said he might even become Republican. He jokingly brought that around as well. Yeah. So I think there's been a little nudge, like, hey, you better get your stuff in order, you know. But this take that he just had was just so delusional. I know these guys don't run their own X accounts when they're government and everything like that. They have somebody else running it, but just completely out of touch to talk about how great New York is after something happens like that. It's just pure condolences and apologies to the citizens. And just talk about how you're going to make it safer and this won't happen again. That's all he should be putting out for weeks after something like that happens.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, we have Zuby here. I don't know if you know who Zuby is, but he was just saying, I can't get over the fact that a man set a woman on fire and people just watched. That's exactly what you were talking about. They just watched.
That's the Daniel Penny effect, right? I mean, look, Daniel Penny was a hero and he was vilified by the liberal media every which way possible. AOC came out against him. The whole CNN came out against him. They charged him. He was facing life in prison. I mean, come on, you know, like it doesn't give people an excuse for not acting. I mean, but at the same time also, you know, it's going to discourage people because they don't want to face life in prison for helping people.
Of course. Think about everything he went through for how long, just for that one act, you know?
Yeah.
He got a pat on the back from the mother that he protected and the kids, But other than that, it was just being dragged through hell. And, you know, who was paying those legal bills, you know, it's just terrible, terrible, absolutely terrible. We got AOC here. She got confronted on this whole thing. And as you'd expect, she didn't have much to say. And really don't like the way the person around her is handling this. They're pretty much trying to assault the person and make it seem like they're not assaulting him. I really didn't like this. Check this out.
Yeah, so your district is really suffering under the pressure of the border crisis.
Thank you.
Why are... I'm sorry,
trying to get through the tour, man.
Don't touch me. What? Your district is very much suffering through the border crisis. Biden's border crisis. Why will you not... No, get out of my way. Excuse me, sir. Get out of my way. Dude, fucking get your hands off of me. What?
You're gonna fall down the stairs, man. Relax.
Stop touching me. Stop touching me.
Sir, you're gonna fall down the stairs.
Are you talking to the Biden administration about fixing the border? Get off of me. What is wrong with you?
You touched me on the stairs.
Thank you. I did not touch you. I have it on video.
Didn't touch her. Didn't touch that guy. That guy's pushing him around saying, oh, the stairs are slippery. You're going to fall down the stairs while he's pushing him while the guy's just trying to get answers from AOC. Just the fact that this woman acts like she has any moral high ground is so crazy. And then when a regular person confronts her, they get pushed around and passive aggressively get threatened. The stairs are real slippery, man. You might fall down the stairs. As he's trying to push him down the stairs is insane. Then he actually gets close to her and she says, you're touching me. Stop touching me. It's mind-boggling. I can't wait till some regular person who's like a UPS delivery guy runs for her position and wins. I can't wait until that happens. That needs to happen so badly. Just some woman who's a secretary, some guy who's just a delivery guy, someone, a convenience store owner, someone needs to run and take her out of her seat and just, oh my God, it's crazy. It's crazy.
You know what else is crazy, Coach? When it came to Daniel Penny, she said that subways would, be safer without people like Daniel Penny on there.
Yeah.
Go check out my video on Hank Unfiltered. You'll see what I'm talking about. All right. She decided to go ahead and say that Daniel Penny is the reason why subways in New York are not safe. But over here, she doesn't seem to have much to say now, does she, Coach?
No. She's not going to comment on that whole thing. She's gonna say that person was set on fire because that immigrant needed bread. That she's gonna say something crazy like that. That's the type of person she is. She's terrible. Anyway, condolences to that woman. I guess her name's not Carter or Amelia, they were saying her name was. But I'm sure they'll figure out who she is soon, probably in the next week or so. And we'll know more after that. But I just want to see this stop happening. Whatever they decide to do, I just don't want to see this guy put in American jail where the taxpayers have to pay for him, literally have to pay for him to be here, to be getting drunk on subways, paying for cell phones, paying for subsidy, paying for food, and then on top of that, paying for his jail stay as well. Absolutely not. At the very least, I just want to see this guy out of America, 100%.
That's why he needs a chair, Coach. You can't let him go, but you can't keep him there either. And that's the only solution, the chair.
Yeah, well, we got Matt Gaetz, the whole situation with Matt Gaetz, very crazy situation. I feel like, honestly, I know some people are feeling like some things are pretty damning in this whole thing. I feel like when you're the guy who had Hunter Biden's laptop and they didn't know where it was and you had it and you released that whole thing and you've been going for Trump so hard for so many years, when I see stuff like this start to form, I'm like, they're just doing this to this guy. I've seen this story too many times. They tried to do this to Tucker. They've done this to so many people who push against the narrative. And listen, people who push against the narrative in terms of commentary like Tucker and Russell Brand, things like that, They haven't done half as much to the establishment that Matt Gaetz has done. The laptop alone was just mind-blowing. That blew so many people's minds. And then when he actually had the contents, anything regarding the contents that you've seen out there is out there because of him. I mean, that's a big thing. You got to remember, the guy who was on that laptop, his dad is in office right now as the president. So when I see a story like this form, I put my tinfoil Speedo on and I'm like, of course this is happening, But let me play this clip before you comment there.
Right now, the House Ethics Committee has just released its report on Matt Gaetz. Let's get to Chad Pergram on Capitol Hill. Hey, Chad.
Julie, good morning. It's a 37-page report, and the committee claims that there is, quote, substantial evidence that Gaetz violated House rules. The committee says Gaetz was involved in prostitution, statutory rape, and the use of illicit drugs. Now, it says that Gaetz had sex with multiple women at a party in Florida in 2017 and paid them as prostitutes. The committee says that Gaetz also had sex with a then 17-year-old girl. The report says that victim received $400 from Gaetz. The committee says she did not tell Gaetz how old she was. She had just completed her junior year in high school. Now, Gaetz is suing to block the release of the report. His effort for an injunction says information in the report is, quote, false. It adds that the reputation of Gaetz, quote, would be immediate, severe, and irreversible. Some Gaetz allies criticized the Ethics Committee.
It's a report. It is not a court of law. I think it's vindictive in nature. I just don't see what the point in all this is. A couple of old-timers are going to cackle about it. And again, it's not been proven. This is just a report.
I think that's a big point. This is Tim Burchett. Burchett, I believe I'm saying his name right. He's the best congressman I think that we have available to us right now. And what he's saying is very sound. It is a report. It is not something that's the court of law. And the fact that they're trying to release it, I think it is exactly what he said. It's very vindictive in nature because of everything that he's done to the establishment. And Gaetz has done so much. So much.
I mean, you have to kind of look at the committee itself, see who is involved in the ethics committee. But, he has some fair defenses there. And of course, they release it when he's not around to go ahead and publicly debate it. So he's trying to do so on X, and you can see some of that content, I'm sure, on your channel over there. Mm-hmm. I'm happy he's doing it. But at the same time, though, some of the stuff over here, it's kind of concerning. Look, because it's just a report itself, it doesn't really give him a chance to cross-examine people.
Yes.
And that's important because, that's where you start to really see if somebody is, lying or, maybe they're paid off to say something. Maybe they're not. Maybe they're just not being completely, honest. Maybe they have other self-serving interests that, we're not aware of. And for that reason, I come at it with an open mind. But at the same time, also, I just want to know, what is this congressman doing with such young women to begin with as well? I don't know. Just
the thing is, I mean, that's all up in the, I don't even know how much of that is actual. But the thing about it is, it's like, he's a guy. I know he's a congressman and everything like that. But he's a guy. He's around some people. He doesn't know how old they are, this, that. A bunch of things can happen. Happens to guys all the time. Not quite like that, but you know what I mean. You're out, you're running around, you don't know who you're around, you know what I mean? It's just very, again, the whole tinfoil Speedo, it's like this guy was about to become the attorney general. If he became the attorney general, I don't know what Pam's going to do. She seems level-headed. Matt was going to wield that title like a sword on fire, like Thor's hammer, and he was going to crack down on everyone. Anybody who you can think in your head should be up for some kind of investigation or looking into, Matt Gaetz would have done it. And I think right now they're at a point where they're like, this was too close for comfort. We have to make it so this guy is unapproachable for a title like that forever. Because it doesn't matter if it's just under Trump. It doesn't matter. Like, they can't have him ever be considered for something like that. Again, not under JD, not under Vivek, not under Tulsi, not under RFK. He has to never be available, even in the running, even in the thought process. And this is how you do it. This is how you do it.
I agree with your sentiment. I do. I'm not saying I don't, but like there's a certain level of decorum that comes with being a congressman.
Of course. Yeah.
I mean, there's certain imagery that just, you have to uphold. And I know that we're kind of short on that these days, but like even the illicit drug use, coach, like if you're a congressman, why are drugs even around you? Like honestly, there's drugs in a room and you're a congressman, you get right up, you walk right away. You want nothing to do with that. Like, is that true or not? I don't know. But if that report is true, that's how it should be handled. Like you shouldn't be around that stuff. I'm sorry. I just don't agree with it.
But I bet you 100%. We're saying that because, yeah, of course, that's what we feel. I'm sure if every congressman heard you say that, they would all laugh and they'd be like, huh. This guy just doesn't
coach.
know.
If I was at a party or something and I see drugs,
no, yeah, 100%.
I'm not sticking around.
No, I know, and I know you have that moral compass, but there was a guy who was with another guy, and they filmed themselves in the Senate. He was an employee. You know what I mean?
I saw
there
that.
was a baggie found in the White House. You know what I mean? Like,
I agree.
George Bush Jr. was a user. Like, this Barack Obama apparently. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Obama stories. We should get into that one day.
I think it's more. I won't say rare, but I'll bet you that illicit drug use is more normal in the government than we think. Because you got to remember, you have to remember the government, and I've realized this because I've worked in film and television for a while, and they're both kind of the same thing. Hollywood and the government are very, very similar. And I feel even in some sentiments, they get their marching orders from the same people at a certain point. So to just think about what they're involved in, who they're around the Hollywood people. They're around all sorts of people. And then all of a sudden when they're coming up and everything, like I think it's way more normal than we think. Again, I'm not saying like, oh, it's okay because it's normal. I have that sense of moral compass too, especially if I was in that position, I'd be like, I got to get out of here. And it wouldn't be because I'm an angel. I'd just be like, I got to get out of this room. I can't be seen in this room. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I 100% feel you on that. But I think it's a normal thing. And I think when you step out of line, and the other people who know it's normal know that the public doesn't know that it's normal, they're like, we're going to air your business out. And they're going to think you're the only one that does this type of stuff. And you're going to look like the wild man out. You're going to look like Hunter Biden. The rest of us are not going to look like Hunter Biden because we haven't stepped out of line like you have.
Coach, look, here's the thing. The shoe on the other foot test. If Hunter Biden's doing it, it doesn't mean that it's okay for Matt Gaetz to do it.
Well, that's what I mean. Like I'm just saying they're just going to make him look like everybody knows Hunter's a wild boy. They're going to make him look like the same type of person.
But at the same time also, like, here's the thing about the report. I would take it with a grain of salt because it's a report. Like I said, there was no chance to cross-examine these witnesses. It can completely fall apart and maybe false. Maybe it is. I really don't know. But that's kind of why I was kind of unsure. Like, I don't really know why I want to comment too much on it, just because it's hard to tell what is true and what isn't anymore, especially when you know that your enemies are always out to try to seize any moment to destroy you, especially once you've gone after them and exposed their corruption. And that might be what's happening here. I'm not saying it's not, Coach. I don't really know. And that's honestly, why I'm not sure.
I think that's why Trump didn't want him to withdraw his name. Because Trump was like, no, just keep fighting. What are you talking about? Like, let's make this team. What are we talking about here? Just keep fighting. And Matt Gaetz withdrew it. Trump didn't want him to. Trump was like, just stay in the fight.
I like Matt Gaetz.
And honestly, I don't think Trump's sitting back with no information like he doesn't know Matt Gaetz. I think he has the ability to vet him and know all this stuff the same way the other people who had the report and everything did. And I think he knew about all this and he was like, fight. Don't just do you hear what they said about me with the Russian collusion story? All the things they said I was doing? Fight through this.
Well, that's the thing. It sounds like a bunch of this did go to court and was litigated. I mean, I think we saw that on The View when one of them had a cease and desist order and had to.
Sunny, yeah.
There you go. Yeah. So, I mean, it clearly didn't come up. Look, it seems like there was some stuff here that was maybe unbecoming of someone of his position, but maybe didn't cross the, the threshold of illegality per se. But it's just not a good look, irregardless of the circumstances. Of course, the media is trying to paint that picture and make it look a lot worse, because why not take out someone who's been trying to destroy them for, the last, 7 years or so?
Exactly.
But
Here,
sorry?
I was going to say, we got Matt's defense. He put out a few tweets that I found. Him just trying to defend himself, because again, it is just a report, so he doesn't have the proper means to defend himself in this whole thing. He says, I'm accused of being at a party 5 years ago. Here's the gate log for that home in a community that checks DLs for entrance. I'm not on the log. The other attendees are, but the people who said they were on drugs, they say they remember me there. Do you also remember seeing Jimmy Hoffa there and Tupac? That's him trying to be funny. You were on drugs, so you say that you remember me being there. So he's just kind of throwing out. Funny that there's some names that are redacted here. Interesting.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
Would love to know who those names are. We say a G there. I'm sure we could figure it out. A G, an A. Maybe I'll try and figure it out later.
See, the thing is, though, coaches, if you're a congressman, you're attending a party like this, are you going to just give your name up, right? Like, I don't know. Like, are they checking IDs? Does he have another ID? Like, I'm just saying, right? I don't know. And that's why, because I don't know, it's hard to comment on.
But because everything we know, they would make you actually give your name. That's why there's some names that are redacted, right? They would do that to you. We found that out. That's why there's an Epstein list that exists, because they're like, give us your name. That's why.
What list is this though? Like, where is
this
it?
is just like you said. It's just they said he was at a party, and this is the gate log for the home that he was entering. So apparently they have to take your name because they have to know who's there, because probably a lot of prestigious quote unquote people there, probably a very rich.
But he could just be like, "Yo, I'm a congressman. You know who I am. Leave me alone."
They wouldn't do that. They'd be like, "You have to give your name."
I don't know. It's just a party. He's a high level official.
You have to understand. If you're a billionaire, don't care about Matt Gaetz. I don't care that you're Matt Gaetz. I don't even know who you are. I actually make things run. I probably lobbied more money than you've ever seen.
Was this a party of billionaires, though?
Well, not of billionaires, but the person who had the house was a very rich person, because their home is so big that they had a gate log. I'm just saying, this person is very, very, very rich. If they're at a point where they have a gate log, that means they have a person who is taking names at the gate as people come in. That's just like, I'm just saying, that's like a high up type of thing. You know what I mean?
I mean, apartment buildings do that too. I've seen condos do that. Security.
Like,
I mean,
and he could just, but he's saying the home in a community that,
and I get that
DLs.
too.
So it's obviously a pretty well off place. You know what I mean? I don't know that, but that's his one defense. Another one was, of the ethics witnesses who was on an alleged lady of the night, let's say, claims that she was indeed not when actually pressed in a deposition. This won't be in the ethics report because, of course. So apparently there is a whole thing where they pressed her about being a lady of the night, and she revealed that she actually wasn't.
Well, read that, coach.
Were you escorting, working? What were you doing, Miss Wolf? Objection form. I wouldn't consider it any of those. They're asking, were you escorting, working? What were you doing? She says, I wouldn't consider it any of those. There were a lot of times where I did not get paid for being there. In that time, I thought a lot of these people were my friends. Then the question from Mr. Beltram. Okay, all right. So you wouldn't characterize yourself doing anything you did in 2017 as sex work. She says, they say objection. You can answer. And she says no. So there's that. And again, he doesn't have the means to defend himself properly.
Let's scroll up there for a second, coach.
Scroll up.
Yeah. So you see, it says over here, another one of the ethics witnesses who was an alleged prostitute claims she was indeed not when actually pressed in a deposition. But then in the actual deposition itself, it says, I did not get paid for being there. In that time, I thought a lot of these people were my friends. Sorry, let me rephrase that. There was a lot of time where I did not get paid for being there, which kind of alludes that there were some times where she did get paid. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that she was there presently as a prostitute. Look, she could be a prostitute and not be getting paid by anybody and just be friends with people. Prostitutes have friends too, Coach. Okay, I'm just saying. And Matt Gaetz could have been one of them.
She could also be an escort, right? An escort wouldn't be doing all the things that you would think of just by nature. Somebody
that's
says,
inconsistent there, Coach. I mean, it says right there, like, she said that she wasn't a prostitute. Well, it kind of alludes that she is sometimes and sometimes not. So,
well, again,
that position isn't consistent with what his claim is there. So some of that stuff just seems inaccurate to me, and it raises questions.
But an escort doesn't do all those things. They're two separate things. They're not actually
fair
the
enough.
same thing.
I mean, I don't know what they do or don't do, but
in regards to me marrying somebody, it would be the same thing. But in this conversation, it's not actually the same thing. So
I don't know the difference between an escort and a prostitute because I don't use them. Just saying, putting that out there, But look, all I can say is in the deposition, it seems like there's some inconsistencies there. Obviously, he has a right to defend himself. I'm happy he is. Everyone deserves a right to defend themselves, and he's doing so, through the public discourse over here on the public square on X. But at the same time, also, I mean, his characterization of the deposition doesn't seem consistent with what the deposition actually says. So it once again leads to more questions than answers, which is kind of my point.
We have his friend Chris Dorsworth here. He demands the ethics committee issue a correction to its report that inaccurately summarized his statements and testimony. So it's like I think as this goes on, and I'm not going to read this whole thing, but you just know that he demanded a correction for something that he said. They just took apart something he said, made it into something else. I think as time goes on, we'll see something completely different. I think
it's possible.
When we think back, if we can all think back to what we saw with the Russian collusion case, it was firm evidence. We have firm proof. Trump is a Russian asset. He did this with these ladies of the night. They were talking about golden showers and all sorts of ridiculous stuff. And thing by thing just fell apart. Then none of it actually happened. And I think we might see something like that. But again, I don't actually know.
I hope so. I really hope that these reports are completely inaccurate and not true. I really do.
Somebody says here, there was not a trial. There was no opportunity to cross-examine these witnesses or dispute testimony. Zero credibility standards. This was a salacious smear on a congressman who took no POC or lobbyist money. Very possible. Very possible. I mean, that's what I'm leaning towards. I mean, after how many videos I've done of people just coming forward slowly about things and stories just falling apart, and it's always right as they push against the narrative. It's just very interesting. Like for me, in the past 2 years, I've seen this at least 10 times. It's becoming old to me. Here's Matt Gaetz.
Yeah, you couldn't buy him out. The super PACs couldn't buy him out. The lobbyists couldn't buy him out. And that may very well be why he's being destroyed, right? So
who knows?
That is true.
Giving funds to someone you are dating that they didn't ask for, that isn't charged for sex, is now prostitution. There is a reason they did this to me in a Christmas Eve report and not in a courtroom of any kind where I could present evidence and challenge witnesses. This is testimony from one of the alleged ladies of the night that you won't see in the report. What does this one say? Let's see here. Let's bring it up here so everyone can see it. The question was, so it wasn't that the amounts charged did not depend on how attractive a guy was. Is that fair to say? Miss Wolf, object to the form. Answer, I never charged anyone for anything. Like I said, it was just given. Then he says, okay. And then she says, and it wasn't spoken about. I'd like to see what this lady looks like. Just putting it out there. Who's this Miss Wolf? Who's this Miss Wolf? I'm just wondering, and also, honestly, I'm wondering also, why wasn't this done in a courtroom? Why aren't we seeing all this? And why are they presenting it as though it was in a courtroom? It's very interesting the way that they're handling all this.
Well, I think something did happen in some capacity in the court. I mean, otherwise, how would he have given Sonny that cease and desist order? It must have been like there was just allegations. So,
well, I mean, it was
maybe
just,
not a court. Something happened.
It was his lawyers. He just got his lawyers to make her retract or correct what she was saying, but nothing was done in a courtroom because this is just a deposition, right? This is just someone sitting in a room and someone's asking them questions. It's not a courtroom. It's not like a court proceeding, right? More testimony you won't see in the ethics report. This is clearly not a lady of the night under any conceivable definition, which I was never charged with a crime. You said before that you got $400 from Matt Gaetz. She says, I did. All right. Were you promised that ahead of time or anything? No, we never discussed money. So
it was the Justice Department that ended up investigating him.
Yes.
So that's what it was.
Yes. It's very interesting. So just moving on, I just wanted to show Matt Gaetz' defense only because this is what the mainstream media won't show people. And I always like to just show people what the mainstream will just completely leave out. And unless you follow him on X, you're not really hip to everything that he has to say in his defense. So I just wanted to give that chance. But everything you're saying is valid as well. You know, and I hope that this falls apart the same way I've seen all these other cases fall apart. But
look, the Justice Department said that he didn't do any crimes or anything. So
exactly,
and then that's essentially I think why his lawyer was able to give Sonny that cease and desist order. But that kind of just goes back to is this becoming of a congressman? But hey, listen, well, I get it. No one's perfect. I've been a fan of Matt Gaetz. I hope that, most of this is not true, if any of it at all. And I'm sure we'll see some of it play out over the next year or so.
Yeah, it's like, I think it's going to be the next few weeks. I mean, it's going to be like as Trump's first month in office, we're going to understand way more about that because then all of a sudden the Justice Department's going to be under different command. I think this whole thing is going to get rooted out very quickly. Maybe even beforehand, because Matt Gaetz is pushing very hard to defend himself, and he probably wants the opportunity to get into a position where he can defend himself properly.
Well, maybe some more of those findings from the DOJ will come out and set the record straight.
Exactly.
I hope they do.
Exactly. And Elon Musk recently got threatened. I don't know if you heard about this. He got a mob style threat. I'm going to play it for you right now. Listen to this.
Well, listen, he's got a very powerful role. He's got a $44 billion megaphone. He's got over 200 plus million followers. And if he was instrumental in that election, the stuff that Elon Musk did in Pennsylvania alone, I think helped the president win that election. So he has a very big voice. I think the problem for Elon Musk, though, he's got a little bit of Potomac fever. And so you think you're going to go to Washington and change Washington. That's Potomac fever. And the weird thing about Potomac fever is one of the symptoms is you don't know you have Potomac fever. And of course, I have had Potomac fever, Wolf. So I'm speaking as a former patient that's been afflicted with the disease. So he's just got to be very, very careful because he's making enemies that he doesn't realize. And the incentives in Washington are totally different than those in business. And so everybody's incentivized in a different and sometimes irrational way. And I think the power that he's wielding right now, Washington has a great immunological system, and I think they'll find a way to rebut him. So I would say to Elon Musk, not he would listen to me, but stick to business. You've done great. You've made a couple $100 billion since the election. Lay off the gas on politics a little bit because these people could hurt you, and it's no need for you to get hurt. You're doing so well in your life.
If I was Elon Musk, I would fly a golden helicopter to wherever that man is, and I'd ask him exactly what he means. What do you mean by that? With Trump's Secret Service behind me. What did you mean by that, sir?
He's the mooch, coach. He's irrelevant. He was never relevant.
Yeah, man. It's just funny that he throws that out there. It's very similar to Chuck Schumer being like, they got 6 ways from Sunday to get back at you. That whole thing that he said about Trump on Rachel Maddow's show, it just reminded me of that. It's just funny that they're resorting to that form of threats with with Elon Musk. Let's move on. Panama Canal. Let's touch on this briefly.
Just a comment though, Coach.
What?
Anthony Scaramucci was not relevant even when he had his big moment as the White House communications director. It was like what, for like 1 day, 2 days, and he was gone. Like, he's just trying to be relevant. That's all he's trying to do. Like, but yeah, I mean, if I had, Musk money, yeah, I would fly my golden helicopter over there too and be like, say what? What do you have to say?
I wouldn't even send. I wouldn't even send myself. I'd send a robot.
He does have a lot of those, and he can send a whole army to his house knocking at his door all night. That, Coach, I'd like to see. That's a scene out of iRobot right there.
Yeah, right. Just delivering pizzas dressed as like Doge dogs, But President Trump put this out. Welcome to the United States Canal. He wants the Panama Canal. He also posted this as well. The president of Panama responds to Trump's threats. Every square meter of the Panama Canal belongs to Panama and will continue belonging to Panama. Trump's like, we'll see about that. Wow. He's the best. He is the best politician, hands down, bar none. I love it, man.
Yeah, he's great. I mean, just think about it though. Like, they sold it for $1. $1. Jimmy Carter. People thought he was like the world's worst president before Obama and Biden. And they may have been right, but I mean, look at the Panama Canal. It just
$1.
$1. I mean, it didn't take effect until what, 1999? But I mean, still $1. Come on, what's going on here?
Here, Trump's going to talk about it a little bit. Let's listen to this.
World. And you take a look at the Panama Canal. It was such an incredible engineering marvel. We sold it under Jimmy Carter. We sold it to Panama for $1. The following day, they quadrupled the amount of money that ships had to pay to get across. They didn't lose one ship. And now they've made it much bigger, and now they've widened it. They've doubled it, right? They've more than doubled it. And it's one of the most profitable things. Any time it's just incredible, right? We gave it away for $1. China now controls it. They actually control the Panama Canal. They run it, they control it. And we shouldn't let that happen. And we can't let China be in Cuba. And they'll get out. If I'm president, they'll get out. Because I had a very good relationship with President Xi, but he respected this country, he respected me, and he'll get out. And we can't let them run the Panama Canal. We built the Panama Canal. Should have never been given to Panama. We should have had it. But we gave it for $1. Think of it. They quadrupled. In 1 day, they lifted the fees, which are, pretty big for these massive ships to go through, right? Rather than going around the Cape and through all the tremendous storms, such beauty, it's beautiful stuff. But you didn't want to get caught in those storms. Those were storms that wiped out the biggest ships. And we go through the Panama Canal, we built it, and we gave it away for $1. Think of that. How stupid are we? We have done the stupidest things in this country. The world.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. So Trump seems like this is an interview with Tucker Carlson around the time Tucker Carlson got let go from Fox. So this has been in Trump's mind for a long time. Now that he's back in office, seems like he's serious about trying to take it all back, along with Canada, along with Greenland. And if push comes to shove, he might get a little bit of Russia too. He's not playing around. He might take Ukraine if he feels like it.
American expansionist over here.
Oh man, I'd love to see it.
I mean, can you imagine if Canada, Greenland, and the Panama Canal all becomes property of the United States of America?
That's how it should be.
That would be next level.
Massive superpower.
Yeah.
Massive superpower. Oh man.
I mean, what do you folks think? Should they annex it? Should they take it back? I'm curious.
Not to mention, you get some of that sweet First and Second Amendment. Oh, Canada's never tasted anything so sweet. I'll tell you something. The Charter of Rights that Canada has. Oh,
the following day they quadrupled.
They don't compare.
It's not worth the paper it's written on. I'll tell you that.
Oh my God, they threw it away at a second. Come 2020, they tossed it. They said, we don't need this. Whatever, we'll do what we want. Oh my gosh,
couldn't agree more.
Ridiculous, man. But yeah, I guess that's everything that we just went through there. I don't know what's going to happen with the Panama Canal. I'm going to look into it a little more. It's a more of a developing story. But I mean, the gist of it is Trump wants it. He wants it. Sold it for $1. Trump wants it back. And it would be good for the American people if he actually got control of it again. So I'll just leave.
Yeah, well, he wants the charges to go down. I mean, like it's ridiculous how much it costs to use it. So
yeah. It should, when it's gifted like that, it should have kind of been like anything that we bring through there as America. We gave it to you. We're not going to pay as we go through there. Other people might pay. We're not going to pay. We'll help you maintain it and stuff like that. Since America built it, we'll help you maintain it and everything like that. But we're not paying you to go through. Maybe we'll pay you $1 as just a fun gesture. That's it.
I think that's fair. Every single ship that wants to pass through, $1. Only $1, coach. That's it. It was sold for $1, $1 passage going forward.
$1, you laugh about it. Remember that.
It's $1 American dollar, folks. It's worth a lot more than many other dollars out there. I'll tell you that.
Don't spend it all in one place, just throw it over, turn it into a paper airplane. There you go. You got it. I don't know. But yeah.
Toll road,
There's a lot going on, but I can't wait to do this with you again, man. Keep making videos, keep putting out videos for the people. You're doing absolutely amazing. Can't wait till you hit 1,000. Help this guy hit 1,000 if you're still out there watching after all this time. We really appreciate you, and I think we're gonna end it off here. You good there?
Yeah, just gonna tell everyone, please, if you have a moment, please go to my channel, Hank Unfiltered, like, subscribe, and I got a nice video out there on the subway murder. You may want to check it out, see with the coverage and what they did to Daniel Penny. I think it may add some important context over there. So I hope to see you over there. All right. And with that, I'm out.
Hold on. I do the outros here.
Oh, I'm out. Okay. I didn't say you're out, coach. I said I'm out.
Subscribe.
I know it's got to be your turn. I am turning it over to you, coach. It's important. I get that.
He's giving me my channel back. Thank you. All right. Subscribe, turn on the notifications. Other than that, I'm out.